So where do you work again?
I work at Bad Boys Bail Bonds.
Bad Boys Bail Bonds. Awesome.
Yes.
All right. Well, I also did bail bonds a couple years back and did it for quite some time. What are some of the things that worry you on a daily basis when you deal with banking or your mobile phone? Maybe do you have a smartphone?
I do.
Yeah. So
One of the things that recently grabbed my attention was tracking.
Yeah.
I hate GPS tracking.
Okay.
And so when I'm downloading apps, which I don't do really anymore because I read this fine print now, and all of them can track you and they can read into your directories, etc., look at your phone. So what I did was I found out that on Google Now on Androids they can track you.
Yeah.
So if somebody hacked into my Google Now account, so I went to the phone company or called my phone company. I said, help me get into my directory, help me delete Google Now and anything that has to do with Google Now. So hopefully I'm completely untrackable.
Well, that would be key, right?
Yeah.
You got to watch out for the hackers.
Yeah.
So we deal with hackers on a regular basis, and as Checkpoint Software, it's something that we all have to be wary of, and the cell phone is a vulnerable point. You think about paying your bills or online banking.
Sure.
You might have a worry that the bill's actually even going to be paid, right? I mean, is that something that you potentially worry about?
I have a number of accounts,
Yeah.
and so what I do is I step down from accounts, from like my high-level accounts, which I barely ever get to, which have really long security codes that I don't even remember. I have to go to writing them down, to easy ones that I can remember, which are my checking, where the money goes just in and out.
Okay.
So I might dump $6,000 in for my monthly bills, and the next day $6,000 is gone because all of the bills are paid.
Oh, that's great. So what you've done with your accounts is you've segmented them apart.
Yes.
You've made different accounts available so that they're not all vulnerable at one point in time. Checkpoint believes the same principles in security. So let's say the easiest way to put it is that we focus on management, and we look at ways that we can overlook an entire infrastructure. Maybe it's just a mobile phone, maybe it's a firewall within inside of a company, anything that might be protecting you as a user or your entire Bad Boys Bail Bonds, right? So the way that's done and why it's so important that its management is on top is because you have to see those things. Just like as you're viewing your accounts, you have to know what's going on in those accounts and if there's money being withdrawn that you didn't actually use.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we put those at the top so that you actually have the ability to see what's going on. The next layer of security is a control layer. The control layer is actually what feeds into actually giving you that information. So maybe there's other bail bond companies out there that might use some of the same technology, and what we call it is threat cloud, and that funnels all back in to one location and says, look, we got hacked over here, you should know about that. Or maybe it's just known viruses.
Well, like with Bad Boys, everybody uses Captira.
Okay.
So even though they're separate companies, everyone uses Captira for the most part. So like your threat cloud you're talking about would be the Captira, right?
Okay, yeah. So, and that's the layer that is going to give the protection and push the policies down to your enforcement points, like your mobile phone, and maybe a cloud environment or some type of virtual environment, or it's just software alone in the company. It pushes all that policy down to the enforcement layer, and the enforcement layer is it's what everybody sells. Anybody can sell a firewall. Anybody can sell a cloud solution. But what we believe solely in at Checkpoint is that if you don't work the segmentation process like you've already done with your bank accounts, if you don't work from the top down, focusing on management and then looking at the control layer and ending with enforcement, then you're not really secure in your organization or personally.
Interesting.
Do you find that by doing something like that, where you're segmenting things out, do you believe that would actually solve some problems of losing massive amounts of money or being hacked in certain degrees?
I'm always scared. When I first started in banking, when I first got out of college, one of my twisted sort of backwards dreams was, I'm going to find a way to, send $1 bazillion out to Brazil and move away and never be found again. And that twisted, fantasy that I've had, and now it's like on the other side, I realize like how hard it is to do that. But then there are people in the know
Sure.
You know, and I realize I'm just really quite the dummy when it comes to the knowledge base that say someone like you might have to be able to do these things. So I'm constantly worried about hacking, and you know, even though I change my passwords and all of those things, I realize that there's software programs out there that can go through 1 million passwords in, you know, a second or whatever,
right,
and find out my password. So, you know, I'm constantly trying to be vigilant, but always wary at the same time.